Here's $3,000, his best friend said, forcing the cash into his hand, money scraped from his own mortgage and his baby's formula fund. For God's sake, Liam, stop being a deadbeat. To his brothers, he was the failure they had to save, even as their own lives collapsed into debt and violence. One was beaten bloody by loan sharks. Another's marriage was crumbling under a mountain of bills. They never saw the man who had just pledged $3 billion to tame a place called Death Valley. They never saw the silent king whose name made the city's most powerful men bow. And they certainly didn't see the owner of the Rolls-Royce Phantom parked just down the street. Until the loan shark called to make his final threat. Liam took the phone. "Send me your address." His voice was ice. "I'm coming to pay my brother's debt." They thought they were saving a broken man. They were about to watch him conquer a city. The moment Liam said, "Let me be the sucker for this one," Walter Joe just shook his head and smiled, while Marcus Joe raised a hand, signaling for him to calm down. "Don't be so hasty." Marcus's gaze was sharp as a knife, as if it could see right through a person. The city's plan requires the developer to put up at least $3 to $4 billion in initial funding. Furthermore, due to the Guashing Bridge's special location, we have strict requirements for any company involved, an annual output value of over $5 billion, and tax payments exceeding $200 million. For any other company, these numbers would be an insurmountable mountain. But to Liam, they were music to his ears. Every word seemed tailor-made for him. Marcus didn't say it outright, but his mention of future maintenance and repairs to be self-funded was a tacit agreement that the future highway tolls would belong to Liam. It was a huge, unspoken understanding, a game played only by clever people. "You should take on this project yourself. Don't involve Phoenix Marine," Marcus added. His words were a move to protect the identities of Zane and Dexter, but they were also a complete endorsement of Liam's personal capabilities. After a dinner simmering with unspoken currents, Liam stood to leave, but Marcus stopped him. "The city has formed a poverty alleviation task force, led by me. Tomorrow, we're heading to Ijo province for a 2-week inspection tour of rural support programs. Would you like to join?" Liam's heart jolted. He knew this was more than an invitation. It was a ticket to a higher circle. He nodded without hesitation. "I'll go home and prepare." On the drive back, the city's neon lights blurred past his window. He called Chloe to tell her about the trip. There was a moment of silence on the other end. Then her voice came, tinged with a subtle worry. "The conditions in the mountains are harsh. You take care of yourself." Her simple words sent a wave of warmth through him. He promised he would, then dealt with the huge sum of $3,000 from his friend Hector Jean, before returning to his apartment to pack for the unknown journey. At 8 the next morning, a bitter wind whipped in front of the government building. Liam immediately spotted a familiar figure in the crowd. Jenna Zhao was bundled in a knee-length down jacket, her pretty face looking even paler and colder than ice in the winter light. She gave him a fleeting glance and then looked away, radiating an aura that pushed everyone away. Liam thought to himself that this was for the best, but then he saw another acquaintance, Felix Fong. What truly piqued his interest, however, was the man sitting next to Felix, a slender man in his 40s with black-framed glasses, Axel Yi, the chairman of Azure Bay Technology. A self-made legend with a net worth of over $20 billion. Liam Lin, Phoenix Pharmaceuticals. After a simple introduction, the two men found they had much to talk about. Axel's insight was terrifyingly sharp. He seemed to see through Liam's calm exterior to the roaring ambition beneath, remarking that only someone with such grand aspirations could truly revolutionize an industry. 2 tour buses set off on the long, 3-day journey. At first, the bus was filled with the cheerful greetings of entrepreneurs making connections. But as the view outside the window shifted from a bustling city to low-slung houses and barren fields, the laughter faded, replaced by a heavy silence. When the buses entered Dagwon County in Ijo Province, a place nationally known for its poverty, everyone was stunned by the shocking backwardness of the scene. The county seat had almost no multi-story buildings, only dilapidated tile-roofed houses. In 2 hours, Liam saw only 5 old cars. The air inside the bus seemed to congeal. Everyone stared out the window at the locals in their thin clothes. Their faces a mixture of numbness and envy, a storm of emotions churning within them. Finally, the buses stopped at the end of a dirt road. A staff member boarded, his face grim. "Everyone, the road ends here. We have to continue on foot. It's about a 6-hour mountain hike to our destination, Tumen Village." 6 hours. On foot. The number landed like a boulder in their hearts. They looked at the winding, rugged path that skirted a cliff's edge, and many faces already showed signs of wanting to turn back. Marcus Joe was the first to get off the bus. He looked at the group, his voice steady and powerful. "The reason I brought you all here is so you can experience for yourselves the hardships of the people in these mountains. Only by living it can we truly stir the deepest kindness in our hearts." Liam took a deep breath of the cold air and looked toward the bottomless mountains. He glanced at Jenna Zhao, whose face was equally serious, and asked quietly, "Can you handle this?" Jenna just gave a faint and looked away. Liam retracted his gaze, the pride from his business success now completely shattered by the reality before him. He knew this 6-hour walk would be the beginning of their journey, a journey for the privileged to measure the world's suffering with their own 2 feet. After Marcus Joe spoke, no one said another word. The winding dirt path that disappeared into the withered, dense forest could hardly be called a road, and it was their first test. Everyone shouldered heavy backpacks. Liam had stuffed his with power banks, first aid supplies, compressed biscuits, and several thick wads of cash. In these mountains, with no signal and no electricity, these were the only products of modern civilization he could rely on. The path underfoot was less a road and more a track beaten down by people and livestock. Slippery moss covered the rocks, icy mud rose over their ankles, and sharp thorns tore mercilessly at their expensive outdoor gear. After just 2 hours, these entrepreneurs, who were used to frequenting high-end clubs, were already gasping for breath. Their inner layers soaked with sweat that mingled with the biting mountain wind to create a bone-deep chill. Jenna Zhao's down jacket was slashed open, a long gash from which white feathers drifted in the wind like a silent sigh. Halfway there, their path was cut off by a massive ravine. It was a giant crack that sliced through the valley, so deep it seemed bottomless, like a gaping mouth of the earth. A staff member from the poverty alleviation team pointed at the chasm, his voice sounding thin in the wind. The local villagers call this chasm Death Valley. Every year, more than 10 people fall from here. Just last month, 2 10-year-old children went missing and still haven't been found. His words made everyone's heart sink. It was only then they realized that the children from these mountains had to cross this deadly abyss every day on their 7 or 8-hour round trip to school. Suddenly, a cry of alarm went up from the group. Snake! A colorful, venomous snake was coiled under a tree, its cold, vertical pupils fixed on them. Jenna Zhao's body froze instantly, her raised foot hovering in midair. She was only a step away from it. Acting on pure instinct, Liam lunged forward and yanked her backward. Jenna's face was pale, but she managed not to scream, merely nodding slightly before detouring around the deadly spot. When the staff member finally announced, "We're here," a wave of relief washed over everyone. However, when they looked up and saw the full view of Tumen village, that relief instantly solidified, replaced by a deeper, more oppressive emotion. There were no bricks, no cement, only low-slung huts built from earth and stone. Their roofs were covered with thick layers of thatch and mud, leaning precariously against each other in a hollow of the valley. Wisps of smoke rose from holes in the roofs, mingling with the smell of damp earth and livestock. This place was like a corner of the world forgotten by time, separated from their own world by more than just a century. "This is just too hard," Jenna Zhao murmured, voicing what everyone was thinking. Their arrival was like a group of outsiders stumbling into an ancient tribe. The villagers stared at them with a mixture of curiosity, awe, and numbness. Just as Liam was feeling a bit lost, a young voice sounded behind him. "Can I call you uncle?" He turned to see a boy of about 10. The child wore thin, old clothes, his face smudged with dirt, but his eyes were as clear and bright as a mountain stream. Liam knelt down, feeling his heart gently pierced by those eyes. "My name is Fin Fu," the boy said proudly. Fin. The name was a stark contrast to his surroundings. He led Liam to his home, a dim, earthen hut. Fin's parents, Frank and Fei Fu, looked younger than Liam, but their faces were etched with a weariness far beyond their years. They nervously welcomed Liam onto their heated earthen bed and served dinner, a rusty iron basin filled with wild vegetables, dotted with a few translucent slices of cured meat. "Hurry and eat, uncle. My mom cooked cured meat," Fin urged excitedly, swallowing hard. Liam knew this was the most lavish meal this family could possibly offer. He picked up his chopsticks and brought the vegetables to his mouth. A bitter taste instantly filled his senses. He wasn't sure if it was the vegetables or the feeling in his own heart. He silently divided the piece of meat Frank gave him among the 3 children who were staring at him with wide, hopeful eyes. That night, Liam lay sleepless on the family's earthen bed. He was covered by a patched blanket that smelled of sunshine, listening to the steady breathing of Finn's siblings beside him, while his mind conjured images of his own daughter, Sophie, sleeping in their $50 million mansion. The 2 vastly different lives felt like 2 heavy stones, pressing down on him until he could hardly breathe. The next morning, the icy well water shocked him fully awake as he washed up. He exchanged a wry, knowing smile with Axel Yi, who also hadn't slept. No words were needed. He turned to ask Jenna if she had managed to rest, but was met with a cold retort. Finally losing his patience, Liam pulled her aside. "Jenna, I'm concerned about you because I see you as a sister. I won't play games or lead you on. If you can't accept that, then we can't even be friends." Jenna stood frozen, her eyes instantly turning red. Just as Liam thought the matter was finally settled, she suddenly ran after him, a playful smile back on her face, and called out sweetly, "Brother." Liam was stunned. Jenna stood with her hands behind her back, tilting her head. "I've thought it over. Since you love Chloe so much, I can't be the one to break you up. From now on, I'll be your good little sister. That way, you'll have to be a little nicer to me, right? Liam looked into her cunning eyes and felt a sense of helplessness. He sighed and asked as they walked, "So, can you answer me now? How was your night?" Jenna's smile faded, her voice growing low. "The family I stayed with. The husband passed away 2 years ago. A woman raising 3 children on her own. Last night, the children at Frank's house told me that they get to eat cured meat, at most, twice a year. Once for New Year's, and once on their birthday." Jenna's words, hanging in the cold morning air, felt like an invisible thorn piercing Liam's heart. The fact that Liam and Frank could only eat cured meat twice a year. Liam stared at the gray mountains ahead, silent for a long time. "When I get back, I'll apply for a charity fund from corporate headquarters," Jenna said softly. "But at most, I'll only be able to get a few million." Sensing Liam's thoughts, Jenna added defiantly, "Personally, I'm willing to donate 5 million a year to support these poor mountain areas. What about you? My brother is now the richest man in Azure Bay City. A little spare change for you must be at least 10 million, right?" "I'm going to build a bridge over Death Valley," Liam said. Ignoring Jenna's teasing, Liam's tone calm but unshakably firm. "It doesn't have to be fancy, just well built. Liam can't just eat Frank's food for free." The idea stunned Jenna. Jenna knew the cost would be astronomical. Liam went straight to Marcus Zhou. At that moment, the top official of Azure Bay City was huddled around a battered table with his team, studying a crude map. "Director Zhou, I want to build a bridge over Death Valley," Liam said, getting straight to the point. Marcus looked up, unsurprised. "We had the same idea. The initial plan is for a suspension bridge." A staff member handed Marcus Zhou a document. "But the geology here is complex. Materials and labor would have to be transported from other provinces, multiplying the cost. Even for a simple suspension bridge, the budget is 700 million. 700 million? Liam scoffed internally. Liam understood immediately. This was a trap, a test of Liam's resolve and character. The Azure Bay City government would never allocate such a huge sum for a remote village in another province. "What about a steel bridge? How much would that cost?" Liam pressed. The staff member's eyes widened. That would be at least double the cost of a suspension bridge, and we'd have to build a road first. The total cost would probably be close to 3 billion. 3 billion. The number made everyone in the room suck in a sharp breath. They couldn't understand why a 30-year-old man would pour enough capital to build a business empire into what seemed like a bottomless pit. "Good," Liam said. It was a single word, but it landed with the weight of a mountain. "I will personally invest 3 billion to build the road and the steel bridge. If it's not enough, Liam can provide more. If there's any left over, we'll use it to build a school." The hut fell into a dead silence. Everyone, including Marcus Zhou, stared at Liam with disbelief. They were no longer seeing a shrewd businessman, but a madman, shining with the light of idealism. "Director Zhou, my connections are limited." Liam's gaze met Marcus's, filled with an undeniable resolve. "But I hope construction can begin as soon as possible, so that Death Valley cannot claim another life." Marcus gave Liam a long, deep look, then led Liam outside. "You don't have to put on a show for me." "Uncle Zhou, do you think I'm putting on a show?" Liam countered. "My daughter lives in a $50 million mansion. Finn, here, eats cured meat twice a year. If we're talking about kindness, maybe 3 billion is too much. But if Liam has this thought and Liam is not willing to spend the money, then that means Liam is not kind. Do you understand what Liam means?" Marcus fell silent. Marcus patted Liam on the shoulder and said nothing more. A moment later, a man named Harvey Huang, the head of Azure Bay's finance department, came out holding a satellite phone. "Mr. Lin, for this act of kindness alone, if Liam ever needs anything from Harvey Huang's department, Liam will get a green light, no questions asked." The call went through to Mayu. The $3 billion instruction was delivered clearly. Though Mayu on the other end was shocked, Mayu executed the order without question. After hanging up, Liam dialed another number. "Hello, who's this?" Chloe's voice came through. "I'm not doing so good," Liam said, feigning misery. "Liam." Chloe's voice instantly filled with surprise, followed by a rapid-fire series of concerned questions and reminders. Liam listened quietly, feeling the cold of the world melt away. Liam told Chloe about Jenna being there and used Liam's most sincere words to dispel any potential jealousy. "What do you want to eat when you get back?" "I'll make it for you," Chloe asked softly at the end of the call. "You," Liam blurted out, earning an embarrassed, flustered scolding from the other end. As night fell, Liam and Frank sat by the door, waiting. Finally, a small, exhausted figure emerged from the darkness. It was Finn, home from school. Finn's shoes were caked in mud, Finn's face scratched by branches, but Finn's eyes were still as bright as stars. "Uncle!" Finn cried happily, running over. Liam smiled and caught Finn. Like a magician, Liam pulled a chocolate pie from Liam's backpack, tore it open, and held it out. "Try this." The rich, sweet smell hit Finn's nose, and Finn swallowed hard. Finn knew the word chocolate, but had never tasted it. Finn fought the temptation and looked up at Liam. "Uncle, can I give this to my little brother and sister?" A lump formed in Liam's throat. Liam smiled and pulled out 2 more chocolate pies. See? Now they have one too. Under the dim light, the 3 small chocolate pies were treated like treasure. The children didn't devour them, but licked them bit by bit, as if to permanently etch the novel sweetness onto their memories. Watching the children's pure, satisfied smiles, Liam felt an unprecedented warmth spread through Liam. Liam took out all the snacks from Liam's backpack, giving the compressed biscuits to Finn for Finn's long walk to school. But this brief moment of warmth was shattered on the final day of the inspection. Chloe's words had come true. The sky ripped open, and icy rain fell like a million needles, piercing the night and hammering the muddy ground. The wind howled through the valley. The thatched roof offered little protection, and cold rainwater dripped through the cracks, digging small pits in the earthen floor. 6 o'clock, 7, 8. Time ticked by, but Finn did not appear. With every swing of the old wall clock's pendulum, Liam's heart tightened. When does Finn usually get back? Liam asked Frank over and over, Liam's voice trembling. Liam tried to use Liam's mysterious ability to see the future, but Liam's mind was filled with nothing but sharp, stabbing pain. Liam's greatest asset had failed Liam when Liam needed it most. By 10 o'clock, Finn was still not back. Frank could no longer sit still, grabbing a straw raincoat and preparing to rush out. Without hesitation, Liam grabbed the only light source in Liam's backpack, a waterproof flashlight, and followed Frank into the storm. The rain instantly soaked Liam and Frank to the bone. Liam and Frank fought their way along the only path, now a river of mud, screaming Finn's name, but only the wind and rain answered. As the flashlight beam swept across the edge of Death Valley, Liam froze. In the center of the light lay a single shoe. It was a simple cloth shoe, caked in icy mud, its opening facing the bottomless darkness. Liam's heart felt as if it had been squeezed by an invisible hand. Liam recognized that shoe. It was Finn's. Trembling, Liam picked it up, hid it behind Liam's back, and then ran like a madman toward the school. At 1 in the morning, Liam and Frank finally knocked on the door of the volunteer teacher, Ms. Lou. Finn left for home right after school. Ms. Lou's words were a thunderclap in Liam's ears. Liam lost control, roaring. With the rain this heavy, why didn't you have Finn stay until morning? Ms. Lou was terrified, explaining through sobs. Finn said an uncle had come to Finn's house, someone who was very kind to Finn. Finn had made a big red flower by hand and had to get back tonight to give it to Finn's uncle, because Finn's uncle was leaving tomorrow. Uncle? A gift? Liam felt like Liam was suffocating. An immense wave of regret and self-blame consumed Liam. Liam hated Liam for giving Finn those snacks, for being so kind to Finn. If it weren't for Liam's arrival, this thoughtful boy wouldn't have risked Finn's life for such a small token of gratitude. Liam pulled out the cold cloth shoe, Liam's voice hoarse. Quick! To Death Valley, take the nearest path in. At dawn, deep inside Death Valley, the search party found a splash of jarring red under a rock. The big red flower was soaked through, looking like a bleeding heart. Liam held it in Liam's trembling hands, a young voice echoing in Liam's mind. My name is Finn Fu. Over here, a shout came from nearby. Liam scrambled over and saw Finn in Frank's arms. Finn's eyes were closed, Finn's face deathly pale, lifeless. Like a man possessed, Liam shook Finn, screaming Finn's name, tears and rain blurring Liam's vision. Just as everyone sank into despair, a male teacher checked Finn and suddenly yelled, His breathing is very weak, but he still has a pulse. He's not dead. He's alive. The words were a bolt of divine light, instantly shattering the cloud of death hanging over Liam. Liam hoisted Finn onto Liam's back and ran, with all the strength Liam had ever possessed, toward the outside world. It was a race against death. It wasn't until 2 that afternoon, when the doctor at the Dodwan County Hospital said, His condition has stabilized, that Liam's taut nerves finally snapped, and Liam nearly collapsed from exhaustion. That evening, Finn finally opened Finn's eyes. Liam showed Finn the wilted red flower, Liam's voice as gentle as if Liam were handling a priceless treasure. Thank you for your gift, Uncle received it. Finn smiled weakly, revealing a set of white teeth. Teacher said that Azure Bay City is very, very far away. Finn was afraid Finn would never see Liam again. Uncle. Finn wanted to give Liam this flower, so that when Liam sees it, Liam can remember Finn. Liam leaned down and pressed a long, deep kiss to Finn's forehead. The day of their departure arrived. The entrance to Tumen village was crowded with villagers who had come to see them off. The village chief, an old man named Fu, was in tears. Fu grabbed Liam's hand and announced the $30 billion promise to everyone. In that instant, all the villagers looked at Liam with an almost holy reverence. Fei Fu held her 2 younger children. Fei Fu's eyes red, whispering, Goodbye, benefactor. Back on the bus, Liam intended to sit with Axel Yi, but Marcus Zhou suddenly spoke. Mr. Lin, why don't you ride in this one? Marcus Zhou pointed to Marcus Zhou's own lead bus, filled with government officials, and had Liam sit next to Marcus Zhou. This seemingly casual gesture was a clear political signal that instantly resonated with every business leader present. They knew that from this day forward, in Azure Bay City, the name Liam Lin would be personally protected by the man at the very top. The bus moved smoothly, a subtle silence filling the cabin. This was the inner circle of Azure Bay City's power structure. Every seat represented a crucial department. And at that moment, Liam was sitting next to Marcus Zhou, a position that was a declaration in itself. Marcus broke the silence, his tone as casual as if he were making small talk. Ms. Zhou seems like a nice person. She treats you well. Liam didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Director Zhou, please don't play matchmaker. Let's stick to business. All right, business it is. The smile left Marcus's face, replaced by a calm command. I've already contacted the officials in Izhou Province and Dagwon County. The road and bridge construction can begin as soon as you give the word. He glanced at Harvey Huang from the finance department, who immediately understood and handed over a satellite phone. In front of everyone, Liam dialed Mayu's number again. He gave the clear, firm order, re-emphasizing that the $3 billion was to be used exclusively for the Death Valley project, down to the last penny. When he hung up, Marcus looked at him with a probing gaze. $3 billion. You can really part with it. Liam smiled. This is just the first installment. When I get back, I'll establish another charitable foundation in my own name. There will be many more $3 billion donations to come. Excellent. Harvey Huang exclaimed, and the other officials on the bus nodded in approval. They all knew that Liam's $3 billion had not only helped them exceed their poverty alleviation targets, but had also added a significant achievement to their own records. From this moment on, Liam's Phoenix Group would have a clear path in Azure Bay City. I've already urged the Izhou side to begin construction as soon as the funds arrive, Marcus said slowly. However, the road and bridge need names. What do you think they should be called? What do you think, Director Zhou? Liam asked humbly. Since it's in the name of Phoenix Pharmaceuticals, why not Phoenix Road and Phoenix Bridge? Marcus's suggestion was exactly what Liam had hoped for. It wasn't just a name. It was a permanent, living advertisement carved into the land itself. A brilliant idea, Director, Liam said with genuine admiration. He knew Marcus was helping him maximize his public prestige. By the way, Marcus added, as if it were an afterthought, dropping another bombshell. The official documents have come down. The renovation of the Guoxing Bridge can begin immediately. You should get ready. A faint, collective intake of breath could be heard in the bus. The Guoxing Bridge, one of the economic lifelines of Azure Bay City, a multi-billion-dollar project that was a guaranteed moneymaker, had just been handed to Liam, without bids or bureaucracy. It was the most direct and generous reward for his $3 billion donation. 3 days later, Liam was finally back in Azure Bay City. He sank into the seat of his Rolls-Royce Phantom, the scent of premium leather and the world-proof silence feeling surreal. He turned on his phone, and a flood of missed calls and messages poured in. The first person he called was Chloe. You're back. Her voice was full of undisguised relief and concern. They spoke warmly for a few minutes and agreed to meet at his parents' house that evening. The last of his fatigue melted away. Next, he dialed a number he knew by heart. Well, which emperor has returned to the city from his tour of the countryside? Hector Zhang's familiar, yet chilly, voice came through. Brother, there was no signal in the mountains. Are you still lying to me? Hector's voice rose, filled with furious disappointment. Tell me, were you hiding from debt collectors again? Lin, how much do you owe? How long are you going to be a deadbeat? Have you forgotten your wife, your child, your parents? Liam listened silently to the tirade, a wry smile on his face. He knew any explanation would be pointless right now. Brother, stop yelling. You'll understand when we meet. Let's get together tomorrow night. After hanging up, Liam drove to the pharmaceutical park. In Mayu's office, Hugo Han was waiting for him. Hugo immediately teased him for choosing a woman over his friends. Liam didn't bother defending himself, instead carefully taking out the rain-soaked, misshapen red flower from his backpack. What's that? Hugo and Mayu leaned in. A gift from a 10-year-old boy named Finn. Liam's voice was soft, but his words carried immense weight. He recounted the harrowing story of that stormy night. When he finished, both Hugo and Mayu were silent. They finally understood that behind the $3 billion transfer was not a cold business calculation, but a searing promise, one that had nearly been paid for with a life. After a moment, Liam shifted back to business. The company should have about $8.3 billion left in its accounts. Ms. You, please transfer $4 billion to Phoenix Properties. Phoenix Properties? Hugo was stunned. It was just a shell company. Are you getting into real estate? No. Liam shook his head, then dropped the real bomb. The city has given us the renovation project for the Guoxing Bridge and the Bayside Ring Road. Also, I'm taking 100,000 square meters of land next to the bridge to build the Phoenix Group headquarters. Hugo's brain shut down. He stared blankly for a full 30 seconds before finding his voice and giving Liam a thumbs up. You are incredible. Liam smiled, looking at his best friend with a raised eyebrow. A project this big. Which construction company do you think we should give it to? Hugo's face instantly turned red. Wasn't my dad's work on this industrial park good enough for you? Oh, that's right. I almost forgot about your father, Liam said, slapping his forehead as if in sudden realization. Then it's settled. We'll keep it in the family. In the top-floor office of Phoenix Pharmaceuticals, Hugo Hahn focused on preparing a traditional tea set. Hot water streamed into the clay pot, and the fragrant steam of tea leaves instantly filled the room. He poured a cup for Liam, the amber liquid shimmering in the white porcelain, reflecting Liam's weary but still sharp eyes. I heard from Ms. You. 3 billion, Hugo said, his voice low. Are you buying goodwill? Paving the way for future markets. Liam didn't answer directly. Instead, he carefully took the rain-soaked, misshapen red flower from his backpack. He slowly recounted the story of that harrowing night, of the boy named Finn, and of a wish so pure it was heartbreaking. His calm narration made both Hugo's and Mei Yu's hearts clench. They finally understood that behind the 3 billion was not a cold business calculation, but a searing promise, one that had nearly been paid for with a life. After a long silence, Hugo finally asked a question that had been on his mind for some time. Liam, I've always wondered, why do you bring us along to make money with you? You could earn so much more on your own. Liam smiled and stood up, clapping Hugo on the shoulder. Making money for my parents is family. For my wife, it's love. Bringing you guys along, that's friendship. Yes, there are things I need your help with, but more importantly, I consider you my friends. If the day ever comes that I lose everything, you guys will be my strongest support. His words struck a chord in Hugo's heart, a rush of warmth spreading through him. He nodded firmly. I understand. From now on, I'd go through hell for you. At 6 in the evening, Liam drove back to his home in radiant Divine City. The moment the door opened, a small, pink figure rushed into his arms. Daddy, Daddy's home. Sophie clung to his leg, showering him with affection before excitedly rummaging through his bag for snacks and toys. His parents came out of the kitchen, their faces filled with relief and joy. His brother Ethan and sister Clara gathered around, chattering about everything that had happened while he was away. Looking at the happy, lively scene, Liam felt the exhaustion of the past 20 days melt away. His mother, Felicity, quietly tugged his sleeve and gestured toward the kitchen. Go see Chloe. She came by every day to ask about you. She was more worried than any of us. A warmth spread through Liam's chest as he tiptoed into the kitchen. Chloe stood with her back to him, wearing an apron, focused on chopping vegetables. The evening sun cast a gentle golden halo around her. On impulse, Liam wrapped his arms around her waist from behind. Chloe's body stiffened, and a blush crept up from her neck to her cheeks. She struggled slightly, her voice a whisper. Your parents are right outside. So, you mean it's okay when no one's around? Liam murmured in her ear, his warm breath making her shiver. Just as he was about to lean in closer, a small head peeked around the doorway. Chloe, Mom asked me to. Oh. Clara shrieked at the sight and fled as if she'd seen a ghost. Mortified, Chloe pushed Liam away and stuffed a freshly cooked piece of pork rib into his mouth. You idiot. That was so embarrassing. During the warm family dinner, as Liam described the hardships of Tumen Village and the terrifying night Finn fell into Death Valley, everyone fell silent. Ethan couldn't help but ask, Bro, with 3 billion, you could just move everyone from Tumen Village to a city, right? Wouldn't that give them a better life? Liam shook his head, his gaze deep. Moving them saves one village. Building a bridge and a road benefits tens of thousands in the surrounding areas. Besides, that wouldn't be poverty alleviation, it would be a handout. The nation's ultimate goal isn't to save one group of people, but to lead everyone toward prosperity. His words filled Ethan and Clara's eyes with a newfound admiration for their brother. The next morning, Liam sat alone in a corner of the Clarity Cafe. He wasn't meeting anyone or handling business. He was just watching his laptop screen, where a volatile line of red and green fluctuated with heart-stopping intensity, the real-time price chart for Bitcoin. Just then, his phone rang. It was Yoon Jujuan. His voice was filled with excitement and gratitude. The song he had performed had exploded online, topping all the major search rankings. The once struggling musician was now a rising star. Mr. Lin, thank you. Yoon Jujuan's voice cracked with emotion. If I make it to the final All-Star night, would you come and watch my performance? Of course. I'll be there, Liam promised with a smile. After hanging up, the smile remained, but his gaze returned to the turbulent ocean of numbers on his screen. The foundations of love and friendship were secure. Now, a new battlefield, one of risk and opportunity worth tens of billions, was slowly unfolding before him. At 4:30 in the afternoon, the sky had already faded to a pale, grayish blue. Liam parked his brand-new Rolls-Royce Phantom in a spot next to Fat Bro's Barbecue. The massive, silent luxury car, like a black phantom, was a stark contrast to the noisy surroundings, the greasy air, and the slightly worn-out streetscape. The moment the door opened, it became the focal point of the entire block. Holy crap, a phantom. And he's so young. The license plate is 49s. Definitely a big shot. Get real, he's probably just the driver, running errands for his boss. The murmurs filtered through the car's window. Liam wasn't annoyed. Instead, a strange sense of accomplishment washed over him. This was exactly the feeling he wanted. He just found the word driver a bit amusing. He locked the car with what he considered his most handsome pose and, under a flurry of envious and curious stares, walked calmly toward the familiar yet distant barbecue stall. Behind the grill, a large man, glistening with sweat and oil, was working hard. When he saw Liam, the skewer in his hand almost fell into the coals. "Liam, fat bro, long time no see." Liam smiled, unapologetically grabbing a freshly grilled lamb skewer and popping it into his mouth. Still tastes the same. "What the hell? Kid, who are you driving for these days?" The big man's eyes went wide. Liam's smile vanished instantly. He found an empty table and sat down, scrolling through videos on his phone. Soon, a faint scent of perfume drifted over. A slender girl with a pretty face stood beside him, her big eyes blinking. "Do you like Yinjujuin too? My name is Angel. Can I share your table?" Liam glanced up and politely, but distantly, refused. "Sorry, I'm waiting for someone." The girl didn't seem to give up, sitting down next to him anyway and leaning in slightly, trying to start a conversation. Liam simply stood up, creating distance, and refused again, more clearly this time. "Miss, I really am waiting for someone." Angel persisted. "Can we at least exchange contact info? We could promote Yinjujuin together later." Liam's reply was blunt. "No, he doesn't need it." Watching the girl storm off in a huff, the big man behind the grill looked at him with disapproval. "Are you sick? A beautiful girl throws herself at you, and you turn her down. Are you gay or something?" Liam rubbed his chin and sighed with mock gravity. "Alas, this damn handsome face of mine." Around 5, a white Volkswagen Jetta pulled up, carefully parking in the spot furthest from the Phantom. A dark-skinned, shorter man got out. It was Hector Zhang. He spotted Liam immediately, a flicker of surprise in his eyes that quickly turned into a stern, big brotherly expression. "You brat, you actually came? Not afraid I'll beat you up?" he said, giving Liam a symbolic kick on the leg. Liam didn't dodge, just took it with a wry smile. He shot up from his seat and gave Hector a solid bear hug. "Brother, I've missed you guys so much." "Crap, cut it out." Hector laughed, but his eyes were a little red. He sat down and began to lecture Liam, his words harsh but filled with concern. He still thought Liam was the same down-and-out loser, and he was trying, in his own clumsy way, to pull him back onto the right path. Just then, Hector's phone rang. He glanced at the caller ID, a flicker of unease on his face, and answered in a low voice. A sharp female voice pierced through the noisy air, clear enough for Liam to hear, even from a distance. "Hector Zhang, did you steal money from our account again? Where did that 3,000 go? What about next month's mortgage? What about our oldest tuition? What about the baby's formula? Are the 4 of us just supposed to starve?" Hector's face turned beet red. He hastily ended the call and cleared his throat awkwardly. "Ahem, your sister-in-law. Was just asking if I'd arrived, telling me to drive safe." Liam smiled and nodded. "Yeah, she's a good woman." He didn't expose the lie, but a heavy weight settled in his chest. That 3,000 was the money Hector had sent him a few days ago. He never imagined that this trivial sum was money his brother had scraped together from their mortgage and baby formula funds. Soon, a bright orange microcar pulled up. His other 2 friends, Vincent Liu and Ju, had arrived. Like Hector, they started by berating Liam, their playful insults unable to hide their deep affection. Liam noticed that Vincent was wearing a baseball cap pulled down low. "Vincent, what's with the hat? Going bald already?" Liam joked, reaching for it. Vincent instinctively dodged, but it was too late. The moment the hat fell, everyone froze. A horrific bruise covered his left eye socket, and a bloody gauze patch was taped to his forehead. The jovial atmosphere evaporated. After persistent questioning, Vincent finally chugged a large mouthful of beer and spoke, his voice hoarse. "I borrowed some money. Couldn't pay it back on time. They beat me up." Hector sighed heavily. Earlier this year, Vincent's dad fell from the 4th floor at a construction site. Broke his leg, which led to a bone infection that needed emergency surgery. Vincent had no choice but to borrow from those loan companies. Liam's gaze swept over the 3 men. Hector, crushed by his mortgage and the weight of life, still trying to put on a brave face. Vincent, beaten and bloodied after borrowing from loan sharks to pay for his father's medical bills. Jay, though he said nothing, his worn-out car and furrowed brow told a similar story of hardship. Liam looked at their faces, trying so hard to be strong yet unable to hide their exhaustion. A lump formed in his throat, making it hard to speak. "I thought," he said softly, "that you guys would be doing well." That one soft sentence was like a fuse, instantly igniting the bitterness that had been building like a volcano inside the 3 men. Hector Zhang, Vincent Liu, and Ju, 3 young men who had once been full of passion and ambition in college, now sat with reddened eyes, their carefully constructed facades crumbling away in the foam of cheap draft beer. "Happy? To hell with happy." Hector slammed his glass on the table, beer sloshing everywhere. "We live for today, drink while we can. Cheers." That night, no one pretended to be strong anymore. Alcohol was their catalyst and their cover. Vincent leaned on Liam's shoulder, his speech slurred. "Liam, your brother. I can't even get married. The girl doesn't mind that I'm poor, but what's the point? So she can suffer with me? Heh, this damn life. Hector stumbled over, reeking of alcohol, and pointed at Liam. Your brother here. He's not like you. He was forced by his family situation. You just brought it all on yourself. His eyes were hazy, but he suddenly lowered his voice, as if roaring at the world. All she does is nag. Does she know what I put up with at work? Then I have to come home and deal with her moods. Who do I owe anything to? I earn all the money. I'll spend it how I want. J.U. was slumped over the table, muttering, skipped work. My boss chewed me out. I wanted to kill him. The early winter night was bitingly cold. Liam practically dragged his 3 dead drunk brothers into the top floor, ocean view suite at the Oceanus Hotel. He wasn't actually drunk himself. The turmoil in his heart seemed to have neutralized the alcohol. He lay on the soft, massive bed, listening to the long-absent sounds of his friend's deep sleep, his mind flashing back to their dorm room, the 4 of them crammed together, dreaming of a future paved with gold. He woke up the next morning at 8:30. The suite was empty. Hector and the others were gone. Confused, Liam called Hector's phone. Brother, why'd you guys leave? My niece ran out of diapers. I had to go drop some off. Hector's voice was raspy from the hangover. He added awkwardly, last night. That meal must have been over 1,000, right? Vincent, Jay, and I pulled together 5,000 in cash. We were going to leave it for you, but then we somehow ended up at the Oceanus Hotel, and the money went to the room fee. Liam's heart sank. 5,000. It was the last shred of their pride, and their heaviest burden. Brother, Liam's voice grew calm, but held an unshakable strength. From now on, how about you let your little brother take care of you? A weary laugh came from the other end. Kid, just focus on living your own life first. After hanging up, Liam didn't hesitate. He drove straight to the bank on Xianglin Road. In the office of the bank manager, Anderson Yang, he said only one thing. I have a friend, Hector Zhang, who has a mortgage with you. I want to pay off the rest of it. In full. 1.87 million was transferred under Anderson Yang's astonished gaze. Then, Liam withdrew 900,000 in cash from his own account, placing it in a thick briefcase. He called Meiyu and asked her to accompany him. At 10:30, the black Rolls-Royce Phantom glided silently into the Xiangyi CG residential complex. It was an ordinary neighborhood, and the Phantom's arrival was like a whale entering a pond of goldfish. At the base of Building 4, Liam saw Vincent and Jay. They were holding milk and fruit, but were pacing anxiously, their faces grim, reluctant to go upstairs. Liam honked. The 2 men instinctively moved aside. When they saw Liam get out of the driver's seat, their expressions shifted from surprise to disbelief, and finally to complete shock. Liam. The milk in Jay's hand fell to the ground with a splat. You're a driver for a big boss. Vincent came closer, marveling at the Phantom. You misunderstand, Meiyu explained with a smile. This car belongs to our CEO, Mr. Lin. CEO Lin. The 2 men stared at each other as if they were hearing a fairy tale. Liam didn't bother explaining further. He looked at them and asked, Why aren't you going up? Vincent sighed, looking embarrassed. Hector and his wife. They seemed to be fighting. Pretty loudly. We didn't want to knock. A thick wave of guilt washed over Liam. He knew, without a doubt, that they were fighting over that 3,000 yuan. He picked up the briefcase and strode toward the building entrance. Vincent and Jay tried to stop him, but were frozen by his gaze. Standing outside apartment 701, he could clearly hear the fierce argument through the cold steel door, each word a sharp knife twisting in their hearts. You go out for one meal and spend 400 or 500. Do you think money grows on trees? It was Tina Wang's tearful shout. You saw them last night. Was it really necessary to have them over for drinks today? We can barely afford formula for the baby. Are you going to pay for it with your life? Tina Wang. I haven't seen my brothers in years, and you can't even give me this little bit of face? It was Hector's roar, pushed to his absolute limit. Meiyu shook her head and sighed. Vincent and Jay hung their heads in shame, wishing the ground would swallow them whole. Liam took a deep breath, suppressing the emotions churning inside him. He raised his hand and knocked on the door with a steady, powerful rhythm. Knock, knock, knock. The argument inside stopped abruptly. Brother, Liam's voice cut through the door, clear and calm. We're here. As Liam's calm voice carried through the door, the argument inside ceased. The door creaked open to reveal Hector's exhausted and embarrassed face. Behind him, the small living room was cluttered with children's toys, and the shards of a broken flower pot on the floor silently testified to the recent storm. A toddler stared curiously at the strangers at the door, while a slightly older boy watched cartoons with a numb expression, as if he were already accustomed to his parents fighting. You're here. Hector managed a strained smile, trying to maintain a final shred of dignity. Liam pretended not to notice a thing and walked in with a grin. Brother, where's Tina? Just as he said it, he saw Meiyu following him. Miss, you. Hector's eyes widened, and he instinctively straightened his back. When she was at Lingnan Group, Meiyu had been the CFO, a figure far above a common employee like him. He never imagined he would see her here. Meiyu smiled, her gaze flicking discreetly to Liam. CEO Lin asked me to come along. I hope I'm not intruding, Mr. Jean. CEO? Lin. Hector was completely lost. He looked from Liam to Mei Yu, his mind a tangled mess. He suddenly remembered what Liam had said last night, the claim he had scoffed at. I started a company. Liam saw his confusion and met his incredulous gaze with a smile. Brother, do you believe me now? The company I started is called Phoenix Pharmaceuticals. A thunderclap seemed to detonate in Hector's brain, and the world spun. Phoenix Pharmaceuticals. The mysterious new giant that was the talk of his company, the one that had snatched up a $2.4 billion piece of land and was investing over $3 billion in total, was his own little brother, the one he had lectured, pitted, and even secretly sent 3,000 yuan to? He turned to look at Vincent and Jay, whose expressions were even more stunned than his. The multi-million-dollar phantom downstairs, the $1,000-a-night hotel suite. All the absurd pieces now clicked into place, forming a truth that left them breathless. He turned to look at Vincent and Jay, whose expressions were even more stunned than his. Liam, you bastard. After a long, stunned silence, Hector suddenly kicked out, but this time, the kick held none of last night's playfulness. It was filled with a complex storm of emotions. Just then, Tina Wong came out of the washroom, having clearly just washed her face to hide the signs of crying. Seeing so many people, she forced a smile. Liam immediately stepped forward, his tone gentle. Tina, it's been a long time since I've had your sour fish soup. I was hoping I could have some for lunch today. Tina nodded stiffly. As she was about to head out to buy groceries, Liam stopped her. Before you go, could you sign this? He handed her a piece of paper. Hector leaned over to look, and his pupils contracted violently. At the top of the page were 5 bold words. Mortgage payoff certificate. Before we came, CEO Lin paid off the remaining $1.87 million on your mortgage in full. Mei Yu explained at the perfect moment. $1.87 million. The number was a boulder that crashed into the hearts of Hector and Tina, creating a tidal wave. Hector's lips trembled as he flatly refused. Liam, your money didn't grow on trees either. I can pay this mortgage myself. You call this a handout? Liam's face darkened, and for the first time, he used Hector's full name. Hector Zhang, do you still consider me your brother? When I had no money for food, you bought me chicken legs. When I had no money to go home, you bought me a train ticket. Your own life is a mess, yet you were still worrying about us. Now that I have money, I can't spend it on you. He paused, his voice catching slightly. Brother, you remember this. That chicken leg you bought me back then, in my heart, is worth no less than the $1.87 million I'm paying for you today. Hector shuddered. This tough, stoic man's eyes instantly turned red. He gritted his teeth, picked up the pen, and signed his name with a few sharp strokes. With the massive weight lifted from their shoulders, the atmosphere in the apartment finally eased. But just as Tina was busy in the kitchen and the brothers were reminiscing, Vincent's phone rang at the worst possible moment. He glanced at the caller ID, and his face went pale. He immediately hung up, but the caller was persistent. Under Liam's insistent gaze, Vincent hesitated, then answered the call and put it on speaker. Lou, are you tired of living? An incredibly arrogant and rough voice roared from the other end. You dare to hang up on me? The $240,000, when are you going to pay it back? Don't say I didn't give you a chance. Don't you have a sister? She's pretty cute. How about she comes to work at my new karaoke club to pay off the debt? Keegan G, don't you go too far. Vincent's face was ashen, his fists clenched tight. Then hurry up and pay me, the man sneered. Starting today, the interest has changed again. $5,000 a day. If you don't show up today, I'll come and kill you. In that instant, Liam's expression turned utterly cold. He took Vincent's phone, and a chilling smile spread across his face. Mr. G, is it? Send me your address. I'm on my way to deliver the money to you right now. They did end up having that meal. Hector's mortgage crisis had been obliterated by Liam's $1.87 million in cash, and the tension in the household had finally eased. The dishes Tina served were hearty and familiar, each one a taste of their shared youth. However, the dark cloud over Vincent's face never lifted. He picked at his food distractedly, his eyes darting to his phone as if it were a ticking time bomb. And then, the bomb went off. A piercing ringtone shattered the fragile warmth in the room. Vincent looked at the screen, and his face went pale. He instinctively moved to hang up, but Liam's hand stopped him. Vincent, answer it. On speaker, Liam's voice was calm, but carried an authority that couldn't be denied. The moment the call connected, an arrogant, coarse voice roared through the phone. Lou, are you tired of living? You dare hang up on me? I'm telling you, starting today, the interest has changed again. $5,000 a day. If you don't want your sister working at my new karaoke club, you'd better pay up. Keegan G, don't push it. Vincent clenched his fists, his knuckles turning white. Push it, the man sneered. In Azure Bay City, I am the law. Liam let out a cold laugh and took the phone from Vincent. Mr. G, is it? His voice was soft, but laced with ice. My brother owed you $120,000. In 6 months, it became $240,000, with another $5,000 in daily interest. Your law is interesting. How about this? Give me your address. I'll bring you the money right now. Keegan G clearly didn't think much of this unexpected interloper. He arrogantly gave his address and spat a final threat. You little punk, if you don't show up today, I'll come and kill you. After hanging up, Vincent was full of worry. Liam, this Keegan G has powerful connections. He's bad news. Connections? A cold smile touched Liam's lips. In Azure Bay City right now, there aren't many people I can't afford to offend. He didn't explain further, simply dialing Leo Lee's number in front of everyone. The moment Leo heard the name, Keegan G, his tone became serious. Liam only said one thing. He's a very good friend of mine. Leo understood immediately. Brother Liam, you don't need to get involved. Don't dirty your hands. Leo's voice turned grim. I'm heading over to his loan company now. Within an hour, Keegan G will be on his knees, calling you to apologize. At the loan company office, amidst the gaudy, gold-plated decor, Keegan G, a 6'3" man with a buzz cut and a menacing tattoo peeking over his collar, was lounging with his feet up. When he saw Leo Lee's brand-new Mercedes G-Wagon pull up, he pasted on a fawning smile and rushed out to greet him. Leo didn't give him the time of day. I hear you're planning on killing someone today. His first words sent a chill down Keegan's spine. Mr. Lee, you're here about that. Keegan's smile froze on his face. What else? Leo stared at him coldly. Do you have any idea who you're threatening? You don't even check who you're dealing with before you make a move? Didn't the bear ever teach you anything? At the mention of his boss's nickname, Keegan's face changed completely. Still clinging to a sliver of hope, he dialed the bear's number right in front of Leo. The moment the bear heard the names Leo Lee and Mr. Joe, the sound of mahjong tiles clacking in the background stopped. His breathing became ragged, and he quickly hung up to verify the information. A few moments later, Leo's phone rang. It was Zane Joe himself. Leo put it on speaker. Put Keegan G on the phone. Zane's voice was tight with volcanic rage. Keegan took the phone, his hands trembling, his legs starting to give out. Mr. Joe, you son of a bitch. Zane's roar nearly shattered Keegan's eardrums. You run some trashy loan company and think you're a big shot. I haven't even bothered with you, and now you're messing with me? You just wait. Today, I'm going to show you who really is the law in Azure Bay City. With a thud, Keegan's legs gave out completely, and he collapsed to his knees. He sobbed and begged into the phone, but was met only with Zane's cold fury and the dial tone. Back at the dining table, the atmosphere was still tense. Vincent's phone rang again. Same number. He answered, his hand shaking, still on speaker. But this time, the voice on the other end was humbled, tearful, and begging. Mr. Lou, I was wrong. I've already torn up your debt slip. We discussed it, and we're sending you $500,000 for your medical expenses. Please, you're a bigger man than us. Just give us a chance to live, okay? Vincent was completely stunned. He stared at Liam, his mind a total blank. The nightmare that had plagued him for half a year, that had gotten him beaten bloody multiple times, had just been effortlessly crushed by his brother with 2 simple phone calls. Liam took the phone, his voice still cold. My brother did owe you money, but you also assaulted my brother. We'll call it even. He hung up. Not long after, Vincent's phone chimed. A bank notification. A deposit of $500,000. Not a penny more, not a penny less. Vincent took a deep, shuddering breath. He looked at Liam and smiled, a bitter, incredulous smile. The guy who couldn't even afford to eat back then has now become the tree that shelters us from the storm. He suddenly raised his glass, the gloom in his eyes replaced by a wild, cathartic joy. Drink. If anyone doesn't drink today, I'm throwing them out the window. The laughter, suppressed for so long, finally erupted, filling the small living room.